Growing up in Germany in a native German family, as I did, from childhood on, you're only hearing how great and generous the state and the government is, how welfare, regulations, and laws to restrict businesses improve the quality of life for everyone in society. As a proper Prussian, you learn about the Staatsbürgerpflichten, the duties a good citizen has to perform in order for being a valuable part of society. Things like paying your fair share in high taxation, sitting down quietly in school and listen intent to what the teacher says, being polite to other people, respecting the institutions like the police and the rule of law. For further details, you can look up Preußische Tugenden, the Prussian virtues. Since atheism has taken over the Western world and the state has become God to most people, committing disbelief in what the government says makes you a heretic. Admittedly, Germans in particular always had a very romantic relationship to their governments. But the religious view at government power applies to most Western countries these days. Growing up in a rather politicized family, politics has always been a part of my life since I can remember. I even recall pinning up billboards for upcoming elections in my city as a toddler, since my family was very engaged in the local association of SPD, the Social Democratic Party of Germany. The German media in general is at best left wing and at least socialist. And in the last few years, it has become more and more full blown green communism. And as a teenager, coming from a social democratic household, I of course fell completely for this propaganda. In the film Inception, Leonardo DiCaprio talks about that there's nothing more powerful than a thought or an idea that a person has in its mind. And since socialist propaganda has a kind of logic and arguments that seem reasonable and commonsensical if you look at it through the lens of a socialization of a German teenager, you believe everything they tell you. The meme of toddlers always asking why and their infinite curiosity seems never to have stopped in my case. Since I was never really satisfied with the answers my family and the socialist propaganda gave me on various topics. I always remained with big question marks over my head. Why don't we all just get along? Why can't the government not just impose this law? What about a law against poverty? Why do businesses always exploit workers and the environment? Government schools and teachers could not answer my questions either. So in my early 20s, I discovered the internet, the body of acquired knowledge of humanity. Of course, the socialists also use the internet for their propaganda, but over time I learned about something called freedom, a word that has not been very common in my vocabulary to this day. Also, the free market, corporatism, and things that most people would call conspiracy theories. I am not saying that the free market is everything, but it was a harsh awakening to all the lies I have been told all those years. I will elaborate on the libertarian question in a future video. The government is basically an agency with an opinion and a gun. It does not have to own your money or your acceptance by providing a product or service that is good enough so that you will spend your money willingly towards them by keeping quality up and prices down. The government can dictate higher prices for a lower quality product or service at any time. The government can change its opinion on every matter at any time to any extent, since even the Constitution, or in the Republic of Germany, the Grundgesetz, can also be changed. A company can be sued if it changes one-sidedly the contract it has signed to abide by. The government ensures itself that it never makes mistakes and will not be accountable for anything or any bad consequences. Since ownership and management are separated, politicians decide and the people have to deal with the consequences. The government decides all conflicts, even if the government itself is the defendant. Separations of power is a joke. But yeah, democracy! We are the government and the government protects us. The government is an accumulation of people who could not provide enough value to other people in the free market to make a living. So they decided to take the money from other people by force, by telling people what they want to hear and why their situation is not their fault. If I corrupt a policeman when he catches me speeding, I have to use my own money. A politician corrupts the majority by taking the money from the minority, so with someone else's money. Democracy is nothing more than the institutionalized corruption by lazy people without any valuable skills rather than talking.